Tonight, we drift back to a time before electricity, before streetlights, before privacy. A time when nights were long, cold, and crowded. When families, travelers, even strangers slept shoulder to shoulder. When people woke at midnight, to pray, talk, or wonder. These are the strange nightly rituals of medieval Europe. Take a breath, settle in, and let the past keep you company as you fall asleep. Hey there, I'm glad you're here. Let's slow the day down together. If you can, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan, or a little ambient audio, something steady and soft. Get comfortable under a blanket, adjust your pillow. Inhale gently, hold, and exhale slowly. Let the breath fall into its own rhythm. Before we begin our journey, let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from, and what time it is for you right now. I love seeing people from all over the world share these quiet nights together. If you're listening while trying to sleep, you don't need to watch the screen. You can just listen. The visuals are gentle watercolor scenes of medieval nights. They'll be here if you peek. The medieval night was different from ours in almost every way. No bright cities. No glowing phones. No 24-hour noise. Darkness lasted much longer, especially in northern winters. Houses were lit by fire and candle. Heat was precious. Beds were shared. And sleep itself often came in two parts. Tonight we'll move slowly through these old rhythms, from sunset to the quiet in-between hours, to dawn. Feel free to drift. If you fall asleep, that's a win. Evening comes differently depending on where you stand in medieval Europe. So let's take a slow tour gently through several places you might have found yourself when the sun began to fall: a rural village, a market town, and a monastery whose schedule runs on bells and prayer. We'll move without hurry. Imagine you're walking, or floating, witnessing places winding down. Further south, in a modest market town, stalls are closing. Linen covers stretch over baskets of onions and root vegetables. A fishmonger salts the last of the day's catch. A cooper rolls an unfinished barrel toward his shed, iron bands jingling softly. The town gate is not fully closed yet. Late arrivals hurry in before curfew. Trade isn't over, it's only pausing. But the square empties. Dogs nose through straw. A bell chimes from the church, one of the canonical hours marking evening prayer. Now let's drift lightly to a stone monastery set on a rise beyond tilled land. Here, time is measured more by bells than by the sun alone. Monks file into the chapel for vespers, evening prayer. Their voices rise in a low chant echoing under stone vaults. Candles pool light on carved wood. After prayer, silence descends. Cloaks are folded. Sandals whisper across stone corridors. Sleeves brush parchment scrolls. The day's last embers are pushed together in the kale factory, the warming room. A monk checks an oil lamp, lowers its wick, and leaves it to glow through the night. In a world dependent on daylight, evening was practical. Tools had to be stored where they wouldn't rust. Animals secured from predators or thieves. Embers collected. Water brought in. Bedding shaken free of insects. Locks if the house had any set with wooden bars. Each action was small. Together, they made night safe. Return now to our rural cottage. The family brings in the last bucket. A wooden latch bar drops into place. A piece of cloth used through the day to strain milk is hung near the hearth to dry. Someone sets a clay pot in warm ash so it won't freeze. A baby fusses, the mother rocks and hums. An old dog circles twice and lies down close to the door. Its body is a second latch. Candles in iron holders throw small beeswax halos. Tallow candles cheaper sputter with a faint smell of animal fat. Oil lamps burn lower as the wick is trimmed short to save fuel. In some places, resinous pine splints serve briefly smoky but bright enough to finish a task. Soon, only the hearth remains dominant. Everything else glows in suggestion. Remember, the medieval night isn't always the same length. In high latitudes, winter nights stretch impossibly long, 14 or more hours of darkness. In summer, nights shrink, tasks go later. This affects sleep when people lie down, how long they rest, whether they wake in the middle. Winters encourage early first sleep. Summers draw work into the twilight. Before bed, something warm, pottage, a thick stew of grain and vegetables, sometimes scraps of bacon, fish, or beans. A loaf of coarse rye bread torn and dipped. In better homes, cheese, onions, ale. Meals are eaten from shared bowls, with spoons carved from wood or horn. Eating together settles the day. Full bellies sleep longer. Even secular homes spoke short blessings over the hearth, for warmth, for protection, for livestock to live through frost. Some marked the door lintel with a symbol of the cross or traced a charm in ash. Others muttered words older than Christianity. Whatever the form, fear of the night unknown led to ritual. If you're still awake, I'd love to know, do you have any personal bedtime rituals? Tea, prayer, stretching, journaling? Drop a comment when you can. The shared ideas help others who watch. 1.11 The last light outside. Step back out in imagination. The horizon is dark now. Windows where they exist glow softly. Smoke drifts somewhere, a shepherd's dog barks twice and goes quiet. The medieval night has begun. In this chapter we slow way down, watching the deliberate, practiced tasks that prepared a medieval household for the long hours of darkness. Some of these will feel familiar to campers, farmers, or anyone who has ever lived with unreliable power. Others feel entirely from another world. The hearth was life. Letting it die meant cold, and in winter, risk. Here's how many homes preserve flame: push hot embers together into a tight mound. Add a dense hardwood chunk or pressed peat. Cover lightly with ash to restrict oxygen. In the morning, rake clear, add dry kindling, blow, flame returns. Children often learn this young. Night fire keeping was a mark of trust. If someone needed to visit a neighbor after dark, they might carry a covered ember in a clay pot to start a fire elsewhere. Imagine glowing red beneath a lid with air holes, a traveling spark between homes. Beds in most homes were straw pallets, refreshed when vermin grew thick. Straw stuffed in tick sacks, over it, wool blankets. Wealthy households might stuff mattresses with feathers or down softer, but also prized by lice. People shook bedding before night, beat it outside in good weather, or sprinkled herbs believed to repel insects: pennyroyal, wormwood, tansy. Whether it worked or not, the scent helped. Cold seeped up from earthen floors. Solutions: raised wooden frames or box beds. Sheepskins, fleece side up. Cloaks used as top quilts. Multiple sleepers under one heavy cover. Human body heat is powerful in groups. Privacy gave way to warmth. In some regions, especially later medieval Northern Europe, box beds enclosed sleeping platforms with sliding panels or curtains. They trapped heat and blocked drafts and, incidentally, smells. A family might sleep in one, servants in another, guests on benches. Picture drawing a thick wool curtain across the opening, shutting out chill and light. Candles were rationed. A single beeswax candle might be saved for feast days. Tallow was cheaper but smoky. Many households snuffed most lights before full dark to conserve fuel, leaving embers to glow. If someone needed light at night, they used rush lights, dried rush pith dipped in fat, burned fast and bright. Lanterns, horn panels around a small flame, safer to carry. Doors were barred with horizontal beams. Windows, if shuttered, were pegged from inside. Chickens and small animals sometimes slept indoors in winter, others stayed in attached sheds that shared a wall with the house so heat passed through. Water was cold. Yet many wiped hands and faces with cloth dipped in warmed water from the hearth, not bathing, but enough to remove grit. The wealthy used scented waters, rose, lavender, rosemary kept in stoppered bottles. Medieval people did not own pajamas like ours. Most slept in the linen or wool shift worn under day clothing. In colder weather, nightcaps, socks of wrapped cloth, even gloves. Servants might sleep in full-day garments if rising before dawn. Household roles, who did what often? Women, finalize food, banking fire, bedding children. Men, secure animals, tools, and outer doors. Elders, tend coals overnight, comfort infants, bless the hearth. Children, fetch water, carry straw, shake blankets. Routine meant safety. Everyone participated. Prayer before sleep crossed class lines. A simple whisper of "God keep us through the night" might accompany the last candle. Some drew a cross in ash over the doorway. Others tucked small religious tokens or folk charms beneath pillows, carved bone, herbs, a saint's medal, a scrap of scripture. Fear of illness, thieves, fire, and the supernatural shaped these rituals. What's something you always have beside your bed? A phone, water, a book? Tell me in the comments when you wake. It's fun seeing the modern things we can't sleep without. Let's watch a family settle. The father lowers the door bar. The mother checks the pot one last time. An older child places a covered ember in ash to keep warm. Blankets are shaken, straw fluffed. The youngest curls nearest the hearth, elders take the outer edges. A dog wedges across the foot space, trapping extra warmth. A final candle is pinched. The hall falls to ember glow. Chapter 3. Sleeping together, family, servants and strangers. When we say medieval people slept together, we mean it in the most literal, practical sense. Beds, benches, pallets, floors shared by families, servants, travelers, workers, and sometimes complete strangers. Heat, space, and cost shaped sleep far more than privacy. Family pile in. In small rural homes, the whole family often slept in one space. Parents at center, infants between adults for warmth, older children at edges, sometimes grandparents at the far end. Cloaks and hides covered everyone at once. Night conversations were normal, short, practical, loving. Servants and laborers. Household servants might sleep in lofts above animals, on trundle pallets that slid beneath main beds, or on benches in workrooms. In wealthier manors, separate servant halls existed but were still communal. Privacy was rare. Shared beds as hospitality. Offering bed space to a traveler was considered hospitality, especially in regions with few inns. You might share a straw pallet with a cousin, or with a merchant passing through. Space was space. Staying warm beat staying piggy. Inns, the original room share. Medieval inns ran crowded. Picture a long upstairs room with several broad beds or piles of straw. Travelers were assigned space, not private rooms. A merchant from the next town might sleep beside a pilgrim, a sailor, or someone who never gave a name. Boots hung on pegs. Valuables tucked under heads. Snores mingled. Watch your purse. Theft happened. Experienced travelers tied money pouches to belts worn under clothing or slept with their bags as pillows. Some placed small bells on travel chests to rattle if moved. Inns by class. Not all inns were rough. Along major trade routes, wealthier travelers could pay for better lodging, cleaner straw, thicker blankets, fewer bedmates. But even then, sharing wasn't uncommon unless you were truly elite. Guild hostels and guest houses. Cities with active guilds sometimes offered guest dormitories for visiting craftsmen. Rows of pallets, communal hearth, shared meals. Practical, social, and affordable. Pilgrim lodgings. Religious routes like the road to Santiago offered pilgrim hostels. Beds were simple, food was basic, company was diverse. Night included prayer and sometimes singing. Monastery dormitories. In monasteries, monks slept in communal dormitories or in later periods small cells grouped around a hall. They rose at set hours for the divine office prayer through the night. We'll hear that rhythm again when we reach midnight in chapter 4. The smell and sound of shared sleep. Crowded sleep meant crowded senses, wool and sweat. Straw dust. Smoke in hair. Someone's cough. Dogs scratching. The rhythmic breathing of 30 strangers. Oddly, many find rhythm comforting. Like rain. Humor at bedtime. People joked about it. Medieval letters and later diaries mock strangers who hawk blankets, snore like oxen, or talk in sleep. Humor helped ease the awkwardness. Engagement moment. Could you sleep in a shared bed with strangers if it meant staying warm? Comment bed share or floor if you'd choose the floor. I'm genuinely curious. Sleep in high houses, manors and castles. Even wealthy spaces weren't like modern mansions. Lords and ladies had chambers, but attendants often slept within reach. Curtains provided privacy, not walls. Children or squires slept in adjoining rooms, ready to serve. Night guards and rotations. Castles maintained watch shifts. Guards rotated through the night, some dozed in armor rooms, others leaned in alcoves. Torches smoked in stone halls. Boots echoed when the watch changed. A composite scene, night at an inn. Let us slow into a scene, a half-timbered roadside inn, winter. Downstairs tavern fire burns low, the last mugs are cleared. Upstairs, a long room lined with straw pallets. Travelers crawl under shared blankets, boots stacked beneath the footboard. Someone mutters a prayer. Someone laughs quietly at nothing. The candle is pinched. Dark. Only breath remains. First sleep and second sleep, the midnight hours. Modern people often worry when they wake in the middle of the night. But for centuries, segmented sleep was normal. Many went to bed soon after dusk, slept a few hours first sleep, woke naturally, spent quiet time awake, then returned for second sleep until dawn. Let us live through that night. Why segmented sleep happens. Long winter darkness plus early bedtimes plus lack of artificial light equals natural midnight waking. Body temperature cycles and hormone rhythms support a two-phase pattern when darkness is extended. First sleep. Deep. Heavy. Restorative. Lasts 3 to 4 hours. Whole households down at once. The waking interval. Around the night's middle, maybe midnight, maybe earlier in winter, people woke calmly. No alarm. No panic. Just a drift upward from sleep. Children might roll over and sleep through. Adults rose to tend coals, whisper, pray, relieve themselves, even visit neighbors if safe. Midnight tasks. During this quiet interval, people might Stir the pot so food didn't scorch. Add wood to the hearth. Check babies or the sick. Mend gear by rushlight. Write letters wealthier households. Pray the midnight office monastic schedules. Share private conversation. Spiritual associations. Night waking was sometimes seen as spiritually potent. The dark between sleeps felt closer to mystery, a time to pray for the dead, to speak to God, to interpret dreams. Monasteries formalized this in nocturnes or matins scheduled night prayer. Dreams between sleeps. People often reflected on dreams during the waking interval. Dreams from first sleep were said to arise from the body, dreams from second sleep, from spirit. Interpretations varied, but nighttime storytelling flourished here. Midnight visitors. In towns, neighbors sometimes visited one another in the waking hours, especially during winter when nights were long and daylight short. Imagine stepping across a snowy yard carrying a lantern, sharing a mug of warm ale, and returning to bed. Intimacy and birth spacing. Some historians speculate that couples used the midnight interval for intimacy when the day's labors were done and privacy briefly possible. Whether or not regularly planned, the quiet allowed connection. Astrology and timing. Certain medical treatments and prayers were timed to the night. Phases of the moon, positions of stars, all believed to influence health. A healer might rise in the night to mix herbs at an auspicious hour. Returning to second sleep. After an hour or two, bodies cooled, fatigue returned. People lay back down willingly. Second sleep tended to be lighter, dream-rich, and often ended near dawn bells or rooster calls. Engagement moment. Have you ever woken at 2 or 3 a.m. wide awake? Maybe you're not broken, maybe you're medieval. If that happens, try this: breathe, stretch, write a note, then return to bed for your own second sleep. Let me know if it works. A composite midnight scene. Let us paint it. The embers glow red in a village cottage. A father sits up, throws on a cloak, and gently adds a log. He checks the pot still warm. His wife wakes, they whisper about seed grain for spring. A child shifts, half awake, then resettles. Outside, snow falls silently. Inside, the family returns to second sleep. Chapter 5, Midnight Wanderings, the streets, taverns and quiet between sleeps. If you're still awake, we're stepping outside again. Not into the busy daylight of markets and work, but into the strange, in-between world that lives after midnight, when most have finished their first sleep, and some have stirred, not fully awake, but not yet lost to dreams again. This is the hour of midnight wanderings. The hour of half-lit taverns, dim courtyards, and watchmen calling the time. The hour when a neighbor might cross a lane with a lantern, when a monk rises for prayer, when a traveler, unable to rest, whispers stories to whoever's listening. Let us walk there, slowly. Imagine you have woken gently, not startled, just surfaced. The room is dim, embers glow. Someone nearby adjusts a blanket. You decide to rise. You pull on a cloak, slip cold feet into wooden clogs or wrapped wool, and pad toward the door. The latch lifts without much sound. A breath of cold air brushes your face. Outside, the lane is narrow, pressed between timbered walls. Snow or damp earth, in warmer regions, reflects just enough moonlight to guide your steps. Lantern light seeps from cracks in shutters. Far off, a bell marks a canonical hour, perhaps matins. The night is not empty. It's just smaller, slower. Let us drift through a market town while most people lie in their first sleep or the early waking gap. Stalls stand folded, carts tipped on end, dogs curl under awnings. The day's mud has crusted, Ruts freeze. A single torch outside the guild hall burns low, resin dripping in slow orange tears. Every sound is magnified, a shutter tapping. A horse shifting in a stable. Drip drip from a milk bucket hung under an eave. Somewhere, someone coughs. Then silence again. You are not alone, though you may not see anyone. A baker may already be awake, banked oven rekindling for morning bread. A clerk may scratch ink in a ledger by rushlight. The night watch moves at intervals, lantern swinging, staff ringing on stone to warn sleepers, all is well, keep your fires low. In many towns, paid or rotated watchmen patrolled at night. They listened for fire, thieves, unrest. Their calls marked the hours for those awake enough to hear. Picture a man in layered wool, cloak pinned at the shoulder, carrying a horn lantern, its thin horn panels glowing honey gold. He pauses, breath fogging white, then speaks into the street, past midnight, and a still night. His call is reassurance, a vocal blanket thrown across the town. Medieval streets at night were dark. No gas lamps. No neon. Light pools only where flame lives. See how lantern light breaks across uneven stone, how frost glitters where water spilled earlier, how corners vanish, turning alleys into soft corridors of shadow. Even familiar spaces become dreamlike after midnight. That feeling you get walking in a quiet city at 3 a.m. Medieval people knew it well. Some taverns did not close completely, a hearth burned low, embers kept ready for morning ale warming. Travelers who couldn't afford a full bed might doze on benches near the fire. Picture a dim common room, carved tables sticky with ale, tools leaned against a post, a sleeping dog half under a bench. A storyteller, perhaps paid in drink, sits awake, mumbling half-finished tales to the few who stir. A merchant laughs softly, not wanting to wake others. A pot of ale heats near the coals, giving off yeast and spice. Engagement whisper non-urgent. Have you ever fallen asleep somewhere that wasn't a bed, a train, a bus, a chair by a fire? Tell me sometime. We've all had those half-sleep places. Along pilgrim routes like the road to Santiago, pilgrim hospices offered shelter. Hall-length rooms with pallets, boots lined in rows, walking staffs stacked against a wall. Deep night might wake a few, someone with sore feet soaking in warm water, another reciting a prayer for those still on the road. Candles in iron rings cast looping shadows across the beams. Maps, scallop shells, tokens from shrines all tucked near heads like modern travelers' phones. Leave the road. Enter a stone monastery. Here, midnight isn't accidental, it's scheduled. Monks sleep in communal dormitories or narrow cells. At the bell, they rise, wrap cloaks, and walk silent to the chapel. Feet whisper over chilled flagstones. In the choir, they open antiphonals and begin Matins night prayer. The chant is low, level, layered like breath. Candles stand in tall rod holders, their light climbs the stone ribs of the ceiling and returns as gold dust in the incense haze. Listening to chant in darkness was its own kind of dreaming, eyes half closed, mind floating between words and sleep. In a manor or castle, night routines differ but not entirely. Servants roll out pallets near kitchen embers. A steward checks locks on storerooms. In the great chamber, the lord and lady sleep behind fabric hangings, squires rest nearby, ready if called. Torches in wall sconces burn low, replaced only as necessary fuel costs. Outside the walls, a gate guard steps a patrol across the drawbridge, hearing owls in the trees below. Not everyone finds an inn. Some travelers camp. Picture a hedgerow hollow, cloaks pulled tight, a shield turned to block wind, a tiny cook fire glowing under a black pot. Horses pick frozen grass, saddles serve as pillows. One person stays up a while, feeding twigs, a night watch in miniature. Midnight wanderings carry a different scent map than day, extinguished candles, faint animal fat and smoke. Wet wool steaming as snow melts near hearths. Sour ale soaked into tavern boards. Cold iron from barred gates. Pine resin dripping from torches. These are soft background textures like the low notes in music. People spoke differently at night, slower, closer, hushed so as not to wake sleepers. Stories shortened, laughter damp behind hands, even disagreements softened. No one wanted the innkeeper angry at midnight. Words carried farther in cold air, a conversation at one doorway might be heard halfway down a lane. We talked about segmented sleep. Those who woke sometimes stepped out briefly before returning to bed. In these hours, you might see a woman crossing to borrow embers for her hearth, a man checking tied livestock, someone drawing water so it could warm indoors by morning, a healer gathering herbs kept in an outer shed. These motions were slow, practiced, a lullaby of activity. Night journeys carried risk, mud holes, thieves, dogs protective of yards. But also companionship. Villages tended to recognize familiar lantern glows, strangers stood out. Watch rotations helped. When danger did arise, it was usually from desperation, hunger, cold, debt. We keep things gentle here, danger is distant, not pressing. If you hear a story at night in a tavern, it's shared for caution, not fear. Narrator story cadence, soft, there's a tavern story told in winter, of a traveler who could never sleep in strange beds. So each night, long after first sleep ended, he rose and walked the lanes. One night, he shared a lantern path with a monk heading to matins. They spoke of nothing, weather, grain, distant roads, but from that night on, the traveler slept better. Sometimes all we need is a light moving beside us in the dark. If you're drifting, let yourself drift. You don't need to follow every word. The night watch keeps the lane. The fire is safe. You can rest whenever sleep arrives. Let us take one last, slow walk through a composite medieval landscape, bits from many places blended gently. We begin in a small town square. Snow dusts the cobbles. A cart stands tipped, its wheels tall as a man. Lantern light spills from a tavern crack. We follow that light and pass a chapel where monks chant behind thick stone. Turning down an alley, we see laundry frozen on a line, stiff as boards. Beyond, an open gate shows pasture, and in the field a tiny campfire, travelers wrapped in cloaks. Above everything, a wide winter moon. Footprints lead in all directions, but the night remains calm. Slow. Safe. Transition to return indoors. When you're ready, turn back toward the warm glow of the house or inn where you'll finish the night. Your place is still there, straw fluffed, cloak waiting. Inside, low voices hush as you enter. Someone lifts a blanket edge, you slide beneath, bringing a breath of cold that quickly warms. We'll close our wanderings here, and ease into the final stretch of the night, the return to sleep, dreams and dawn. Chapter 6, The Return to Sleep, Dreams, Dawn and Quiet. Good night. We walked the lanes, heard the watch, and felt the cold outside the door. Now we return indoors, to finish the night the way medieval households so often did, with a second sleep, gentle dreams, and the gradual bloom of dawn. If your eyes are heavy, let them close. You don't need to stay awake for this. I'll keep watch. When morning comes, I'll let you know. You slip back beneath the shared blanket. The air under the covers is still warm, the straw rustles. Someone nearby exhales through their nose and turns over. The fire, freshly fed, glows brighter for a moment, then settles. Second sleep begins not with a fall, but with a slow sinking. Conversations fade. The mind loosens. Medieval people often treated dreams as messages, sometimes divine, sometimes foolish, sometimes warnings from the body. A dream after heavy food might be blamed on digestion, a dream before travel might be read as a sign to wait. Manuscripts of dream lore circulated. If you dreamed of water, change might be coming, of grain, good harvest, of fire, both danger and revelation. Interpretations differed, but dreams gave people a way to speak about what they could not control. Imagine 30 people in one hall, each mind creating landscapes. One murmurs a name. Another laughs once, then sleeps deeper. A child whimpers, a parent pats their back without fully waking. Dreams move like weather across the room. Some of what we know about dreams comes from monks who wrote them down: visions of saints, anxieties about sin, even notes about sleepiness during prayer. Letters from lay people sometimes mention strange dreams before journeys, marriages, or births. These fragments show how closely night, belief, and daily life intertwined. Cold makes sleep heavier, bodies conserve heat. Storms wake light sleepers to check roofs. Summer warmth extends the waking gap, shutters open, insects hum, villagers linger outdoors. The second sleep in summer may be short, in winter, long and deep. Families with new babies rarely slept in two neat blocks. Infants nursed when hungry. Mothers dozed sitting upright, cloaks around both bodies. The communal bed meant help was near, another adult could add wood, fetch water, rock a cradle. Medieval nights were rarely silent where babies lived, yet rhythm returned. Not everyone slept easily. Pain, grief, hunger, worry, these cross centuries. Remedies included warm drinks, herbal cushions stuffed with lavender or chamomile, whispered charms, counting prayer beads. If you've ever fought for sleep, you've shared company with people long gone. Before the sun, the world hints at morning, roosters test first crow. Livestock shift, expecting feed. Ice in buckets cracks softly. The sky, still dark, grows a gradient, deep blue softening toward gray. Some light sleepers rise, others stay wrapped. The first up rakes ash from coals. Orange points flare. Dry splinters catch with a sighing crackle. A pot of yesterday's pottage warms, water heats for grain. Light grows with the flame. Smell returns to the room, smoke, grain, wool, breath. Morning is assembling itself. In towns and monasteries, bells for lauds pre-dawn prayer carry through the dim. 3, maybe 5 tones, long gaps between. Even if you sleep through, the bell threads your dream. Most mornings began plainly, warm grain porridge. Stale bread softened in broth. A sip of small ale. On feast days, cheese, or honey. Hands warm around bowls. Voices return slowly. The door bar lifts. Cold air spills in. Light follows, first gray, then pearl, then pale gold if it's clear. Smoke from neighboring chimneys proves the village is rising. Dogs stretch, shake, trot out. Children chase chickens. The day begins. We divide day and night with switches. They divided with fire, bells, chores, and sky. Yet some rhythms persist, waking at 3 a.m. wanting company when afraid, sipping something warm before bed. We're not so different. If you wake later, I'd love to hear, do you dream more in the early morning? Many do. Leave a note when you're up. Let us drift across regions as dawn arrives, an English village, mist over hedgerows, crows lifting from fields. A Breton coast hamlet, tide pulling back across weeded stones, gulls calling. An alpine valley farm, smoke streams level in cold air, bells on cattle. An Italian hill town, first sun strikes terracotta roofs, convent bells ring bright. All these mornings, separated by distance and language, shared the same slow bloom from dark to light. If you're still with me, or if you're hearing this only later, thank you for spending the night in the medieval world. May your own sleep be easy. May your dreams be kind. You are warm. You are safe. Good night.